welcome to Level 7. We are ready for a special live show of the Agents of Fandom podcast. It's time to ribbit and rip it. I am joined by my co-host, Garrett Blaney. How you doing tonight, Garrett?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. We have a surprisingly lot to talk about, and it's all really fun. So I got to talk about my thoughts yesterday on the Lights Thunder Action Pod, and I just want to go more in depth with you guys. So let's get to it.
I'm ready for it. Episode 8 of She-Hulk was one of the wildest episodes we have ever seen on Disney Plus. And there's also Werewolf by Night. There's Andor and New York Comic Con going on, who our incredible guest has had the pleasure of attending. Once again, back on the pod, one of our favorite guests we've ever had, Rachel Leishman. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
So good. A little sleepy, but I'm assuming not as sleepy as you because you've had a long couple days.
Yeah, it is more now just delirium than anything else. I think I don't know words. For earlier, I think I forgot something like very obvious, like a word, and I just was like, I don't remember what that is. And then like I'm wearing a Lee Pace shirt and did Lord of the Rings interviews, and it didn't correlate in my brain why people were like, "Oh, you're wearing a Lee Pace shirt today." Until like halfway through them, I was like, "Oh, right, The Hobbit." Like I just like it never registered. And it's been a lot of that.
If it makes you feel better, I could be completely not tired and still just miss all my words. So props to you.
Well, it was just like it's been 2 days of like I'm like, "Oh, how am I gonna do?" Like I was like, "I have 2 more days of this." And these 2 days, I was like, "I'm done. I haven't done this. I've been this busy in a while."
You can't think about it like that. You can't think about it as 2 more days. You just got to think about it as get through today.
Yeah, exactly.
Words are hard, and that's why we are all writers and podcasters.
Mhm.
But we got a lot to talk about today, so hopefully we don't fumble too often. Thank you to all the people in the Twitch chat who are continuing their subs. We got a couple first-time chatters. Thank you so much for tuning in. The YouTube's pretty quiet as it always is, but we'll build that up in the future. Twitch, the Twitch chat is where we get popping. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and if you want to subscribe on Twitch as well, we appreciate that. If you're not catching this live, you can tell your friends that it's available wherever you get your podcasts, the Agents of Fandom podcasts, as well as socials everywhere. It's Agents of Fandom except for Twitter. It's at Agents Fandom. But let's get into it. So before we start talking about Andor, She-Hulk, Rachel, did you tell me about the highlights of your first 2 days at NYCC? Did whether it was like meeting somebody or did you pick up any cool Funkos?
I didn't pick up any cool Funkos. I barely have gotten on the floor, but I did find on the floor today they have like a new game and it's called like Marvel Snaps or something. It's fine, it's fun, it's a numbers game, but they have a thing that looks like the Daily Bugle. And I instantly was like, what is this? And just like beeline for it instead of doing anything else with my time. I met Tom Welling today. I bought a photo op with him because I was a Smallville kid. And so he is surprisingly tall. Like he didn't have a glass up or anything, so you could walk in and like hug him. And I like went to do it, and I was like, oh my god, like I was like, oh hi, you're Superman. I don't know why I assumed you weren't that tall. Like it boggles my mind that I thought he was not going to be that tall when he's Superman. Um, and what else? I did things yesterday. Oh, I sat next to James McAvoy because I did his Dark Materials roundtables, and we talked about Mr. Tumnus. So I got really excited. And by talk about, I mean he just mentioned Mr. Tumnus.
But hey, he talked about it. That's the headline right there.
He just mentioned Mr. Tumnus. Today I did Lord of the Rings, which was really cool because I like the guy. I love Ben Walker from Broadway, and so it was really cool to like get to talk to him and talk to the whole cast. And then what else did I do? Oh, Let the Right One In, which I was like vampires.
Always.
Yeah, it was just like, what up, vampires? And then like it was really funny because the showrunner, he was like, explaining the show as like in the same way that they did Fargo, where it was like, no, it's Fargo, but it's not any of the characters, it's not any of the things you know, it's just in that universe. And he goes, that's kind of what I did with this. He's like, I read the book, I researched a lot of the world of Let the Right One In, but then I didn't. It's all like new ish. He's like, it's its own thing. And he said that, I was like, you should just call it Serious What We Do in the Shadows then. And I was like, because that's what this show, What We Do in the Shadows, did. Is it just took the movie, was like, here are things I like, but it's completely new vampires. And he goes, oh, well, yeah. I was like, what you just said, and they're vampires. But yeah, and then I watched Violent Night. That's why this is so late, because I had a Violent Night screening.
No, you did not. Did it slay?
Oh,
Did it slay?
Yeah. Yes, ho ho ho. That movie slayed. In a way that is like, was it good? No, it is what it is, and it knows the movie that it is. And it was
If you're
just
going
really
into
good.
Violent Night being like, I expect a cinematic masterpiece, well then I have some words for you anyways.
Yeah, it was really cool because David Harbour's like dad bod is like fully back in this movie, or it might have been before, because he came out and was like thinner David Harbour, and I was like, oh, okay. And then this one, it was like full on like Red Guardian, like season 3 Hopper dad bod, and I was like, it's my David Harbour, yes! And I was like so excited by myself in the front row, and like this girl next to me heard me be like, the dad bod's back, and just like whispered it to like the ether of this room. But
A whisper that would typically be quiet, but in a movie theater, when everyone else is quiet, it just echoes throughout the room.
When it was like, there was some girl like later in the movie, like he does something and she goes, come on, Santa. And it's just like the way that people like were reacting to things is really funny, because you're like, oh, puppy, hello, there's a puppy.
Garrett said before the show.
Yeah, I was telling Rachel before the show that if one of TJ's pets doesn't make an appearance, we just don't publish the episode. So we're good to go, Ruben.
Benji was gonna go, but Benji's over there somewhere.
Benji dipped like right before the live stream went on. I saw it. I was like, he knows, and it's like, oh, I'm out of here.
He hates cameras and he hates phones and stuff, so he knew. He was like,
respect the
starting, I gotta go. I gotta go.
And so Obi always makes an appearance, and another appearance I'm excited about is in the Twitch chat right now. Ava, my wife, is upstairs and she's hanging out. She's chatting. It's her first live show appearance that she's made it for in the Twitch chat, and I'm excited that she's on for this one, because when we were at Edmonton Comic-Con together, I was waiting in a line the next day after I had already bought something for myself, and she was like, what are you doing? Don't you already have one of those? And I was like, yeah, but I got to get one of these Funkos for my friend, and I've been hiding this from you. I've been waiting to tell you, but I got a nice Ben Wyatt that I'm going to be shipping your way. That was a I don't know. It says big Apple Collectibles exclusive, but it was it said Edmonton Expo exclusive when we were there. So I'll DM you to find out where to send it, but it's right to go with Leslie the Riveter. I got my Leslie the Riveter, and that's who they're right beside. He's right beside right now.
Wow.
And so
I was so mad because Funko like sent me like the Parks and Rec one, but they didn't send me Ben, and I was like, my cat is named Benjamin Wyatt the cat. Like it's like everything I ever get from Parks and Rec, they always leave out Ben. I'm like, you do not understand. I am the person you need to be sending the Ben things to. Thank you. I'm so happy.
That's awesome.
Well, I will be the person who sends you the Ben thing. So I'll DM you after the show, and we'll figure that out. But I think that's enough New York Comic Con talk, because we still got 2 pretty big shows to talk about. And let's start with some Star Wars. Obi-Wan's on my lap, and he said, I want to talk some Star Wars. And so let's dive into Andor. I want to talk about, I'll get Garrett's thoughts on the specific episode, because I know, Garrett, you were pretty excited for a specific something, hoping it happened, and it looks like it was delayed 1 episode. But first, Rachel, I want to get your thoughts on Andor as a whole. What do you think of the series so far?
Oh, I love it a lot. I think Andor is the perfect show for Cassian. I don't know where they are, but I have. Oh, they're all behind me. I didn't do this on purpose. I have three different Cassian Andor figures, from Funko because I bought two of them the minute I left my Rogue One screening in 2016 because I was like, him. I choose him. And then the other one is the bearded one. He's right there. Because I was like, he has a beard. I need that Funko. But I love him very much, and I love that this show is showing just like how he is inherently good as a spy. Like no one really teaches it to him. He just like he has an understanding of like how these things work. And it is really cool watching how this show both shows the formation of the rebellion as we know them and is showing how Cassian has become involved. Like I like that right now he's not connected to Mon Mothma, but like she is in the story and we can see how they are clearly going to become connected. And I like seeing like the building blocks and where it's going and like how it's forming and stuff. And so I think I love it so much. It's a perfect little like adult Star Wars show.
And it's set at a time, it's like you said, we don't know how they're connected exactly yet, but we get to see the pieces coming together. And it's set at a time at the beginning of the rebellion where there's so much exciting things going on, where the rebellion is all spread out throughout the galaxy, somewhat organized, but not fully. And we get to see the building blocks. Garrett, you were excited for the suicide run. You wanted to see this mission take place. And even though we didn't get to that, I actually thought this was still a pretty fulfilling episode, the way we got into the nitty gritty of the characters in this one. What did you think?
Yeah, I did think we were going to get the suicide run, and I was not disappointed that we didn't, because we got some really awesome, like, character heavy dialogue scenes that were still really tense. They revealed a lot, and while there wasn't like shooting action, I was still like on the edge of my chair watching, like, oh shit, they found the Kyber crystal, like they're halfway to the base, you know, like the plan is in action. What are they gonna do? And Rachel, I hate to tell you this, but I've said this on other episodes. I was not stoked for Andor, the show, like originally when it was announced. I love Rogue One. Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars projects ever, but Cassian Andor was my least favorite part of the movie. So I was like, oh man, a show about this guy, this is gonna suck. The trailers came out
since he was 6. He's in this fight.
Yes, I know. It's misplaced, and this show, as the weeks go on, I'm like, I was wrong. I really like this dude, and I'm eating my tongue a little bit. But I do want to bring this up with you here because I'm curious. Like, I feel like this is something that you would have noticed, but this is something that catches my eye every single episode. But the costume designers have gone absolutely batshit nuts on like every set piece, every costume design.
Poncho on.
Yes.
And it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. All of a sudden he just comes up the thing in a poncho, and I was like, why are they all wearing ponchos?
I love it. And Mon Mothma's husband is like so handsome. Like I want to wear what I want his entire wardrobe. Like he is so cool. He's a dick, but he looks good.
Sucks, but looks great with a man bun. Like the worst thing that the show has ever done to me is like give me the second time in recent years where a man looks really hot in a beard and then it just shaves it on screen. Like I have to watch the destruction of the beard. I was like, who over in Disney is like, give him a beard but take it away? Because like this is twice now, and it's that meme where it's like, I'd only have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it happened twice. It's weird that it happened twice with Disney, that 2 of their properties were like, here's a guy in a beard, but don't get too weird about the beard because it's going away, and we're shaving it off. And like that choice that he has a beard
specifically to piss you off was why that happened.
Yeah, of course. But like having a beard on that character and then shaving it is like he's like, I'm hiding. I'm like, you don't look that different. Why was that? Was that your choice?
Steve Rogers hat and sunglasses, and
Superman goes to
Nobody
work with
is
just
gonna
glasses.
Exactly.
Like, he shaves the beard. I'm like, And you're just
I
like, I am
mean,
Clem now.
I didn't buy any of that type of stuff in movies until the pandemic started, and when one small little piece of cloth over people's mouth and nose gave me constant anxiety over if I knew them or not. Like, is that who I think it is? I don't know. I better just look away before they notice me because I'm not sure that that person's who I think they are.
Oh, it's
But
still happening. It is still happening.
yeah,
Like, at New York Comic Con, I'm like today I saw my friend Alana and she like walked up and like I had to be like, oh, hi. Oh, wait. Yeah, you do work. Oh, yeah. I know exactly why you're here. But it was just like, didn't register.
The
Like,
irony of like the 6 foot social distancing, but like really you have to get within that distance to
like,
see who the hell the person is you're talking to.
you're like, what's your deal? Who is
that's
this?
probably taken to another level too with internet friends who you've never seen in person, but like you've seen on Zoom or whatever so many times, and it's like yeah, you just need everyone to wear their handles on their
Or you
chest
see
as
like
name
this
tags.
much of a profile picture on Twitter,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
like an anime person.
well, today was just so funny. I'm sorry, I'm going back to New York Comic Con, but it was like funny because I like was outside, so I was like, okay, I'm outside. I'm taking my mask off for a minute because it's like the way the Javits is set up. They have an outdoor area where you can walk around. And I saw my one friend. I was talking to her, and I was talking about how I was going to dress up like Yelena on Saturday. And this girl and I just, it was the one time like I was around people and didn't have a mask on, and they were like, "Huh, that makes sense that you would do Yelena. You kind of look like her." And I literally was like, yep, that would be the point. I was like, enough people told me to do it that I do it now because they told me to. But I was like, it's really funny that this physically couldn't have happened if I wasn't outside at that precise moment that I said it. Because it would have been just like, if you said that and I looked like this, I'd be like, okay, I
I'm
guess.
Yelena Belova masked up. That's the nice thing about Comic Cons though, is like there's so many costumes that you can roll with where it's just like you can have that face covering and it won't mess up your costume in any way because it kind of rolls with it. But before we could get on so many tangents about so many things, and we got some big stuff to talk about, so I want to focus on Mon Mothma's husband because you both brought him up, and this guy sucks. He might be pretty, he might be dressed well, but this guy's the worst.
So was her
Um,
daughter.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and also
you
raising
know
the
what?
kid to suck.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Raising the kid to suck. The daughter did suck, but I don't blame her because when you are getting empowered by an important adult in your life to also suck and to let those hormonal feelings against your mother rage and just like as opposed to understand and work through the conflict, but you're getting that fire fed, that's 100% of the kids that are going to fall into that trap. So I definitely blame the dad more than the daughter, but I think it really showed how isolated she is and how isolated all of them are. And what's kind of scary about becoming part of this rebellion and how it's easy to just fall into that cushy trap of being shitty like her husband is, because it's a hell of a lot easier and it's a hell of a lot scarier. What did you think of that scene, Rachel, and how did it kind of enhance the ground level of the rebellion for you?
I think that scene in particular, and also like the scene I think after it was when they're in the car and Mon Mothma says something to him about
The coolest car ever.
you wouldn't, yeah, the coolest car, but like you wouldn't care because it's a charity, or it's you have to, I forget what she says exactly, but something about basically like you wouldn't care, it actually means you have to care about people. um I was like, oh, like she's in all of this for the right reasons, but like at this point I can fully like understand if like she starts to question why she's fighting and what she's doing. Like I would like it's pushing her character further and making me both understand her motivations, but also like if she started to doubt like helping the rebellion and like figuring out how to fund it, I would also understand that because it's like she's losing her daughter because her husband's an ass, and then she's losing, like, she could lose everything because of the empire or whatever you want to say. But like, I think it is doing a lot to inform her character And so it's fascinating because we know where she goes. We know that she's in charge of the rebellion. We know that she funded it. It's really cool to see how it was like from the jump. She's been in it. She's been trying to work through it, and that it is not going to be an easy journey to get there. And so I'm really excited to see how she becomes more involved because it's like we've always seen her kind of like at those meetings and in the thick of it, not on the here's my checkbook side, but I can't touch this. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see that journey from where we are now to the Mon Mothma that we've seen.
And something that the prequel movies, I feel, didn't do very well, and something that really held them back was how they handled portraying their politics. Everybody's so excited, and shout out to, like, in my opinion, the best comic book related podcast that's ever been created. It's not running anymore, but it's called Binge Mode. It used to be ran through the Ringer. It's run by Mallory Rubin, who does House of R through the Ringerverse, and Jason Concepcion, who's I don't remember the name of the website he works for now, but he's no longer with the Ringer. But their pods they just do are fantastic. And when they did a rewatch of the Phantom Menace, the way they went on about how they were just mind blown, it just cracked me up that we've all been waiting 30 years, 20 years, whatever it was, for more Star Wars. Everyone is so excited to get back in the theater. And the first 30 minutes is spent talking about like tax laws and just basically tax laws before we dive into anything. That's how they brought us back to it. And they spend so much of that movie going through just boring Federation stuff. And Obi-Wan and Andor are really giving us the cool aspects of politics during the Empire being in power. Garrett, what did you think that scene brought, and then just this episode as well? How has it kind of shed light to you on the good people working in politics in the Empire, which we haven't seen a ton of yet, but we did get to see more of with Mon Mothma and, of course, Bail Organa and Obi-Wan?
I mean, to me, the scene and like showing her family, like you said, it does show how easy it is to get like sucked into that. But more importantly for me, it shows like what Mon Mothma is willing to sacrifice or is sacrificing. This time with her daughter to go to these meetings to try to enact change. And in that time, her husband is, you know, obviously spouting some stuff about her to her daughter that is making her feel some kind of way. And like you said, Rachel, in that moment when she tells her husband like, oh, it's not charitable, like you wouldn't be interested in it, and she could be questioning like, is this really what I want to do? And we obviously know that she goes through with it and assumably does sacrifice her family. So we know that how deeply rooted this cause is for her if she's willing to like put her family, her husband, but more importantly her daughter on the line to really start up to spark this flame of rebellion. That shows you what lengths she's willing to go to crawl out from under the foot of the Empire. So it's a small scene, but really it shows a lot of character depth for her, and for the family. And for me, like TJ, you and I, our favorite Star Wars property of all time is Rebels, and in that you really do get to see a lot of that government work on the inside. With you get to see Leia in action. You get to see Bail Organa, and you get to see how they interact with the other rebel sects that they don't get along with at the time, like Saw Gerrera and stuff, and how they eventually have to start to work together to unify, because that's the only way they're ever going to have enough power to combat the Empire. And I'm just so thrilled to get to see more of that in the live action side, because obviously it hit home for me in animation, and you, if it's our favorite projects. And so I have high hopes that Andor is going to climb up those ranks pretty freaking high.
And like the Rebels, like Mon Mothma, we see kind of in Cassian's crew that everybody has either something on the line or something they've already lost, leaving them with kind of no craps left to give other than to give it their all for the rebellion. And although there were some betrayals and some unease in their crew as they were making the walk, I felt like that was a pretty necessary blow up for them to be able to function as a unit, because with no trust, they're not going to be able to get stuff done. They had to all get on the same page. Rachel, is there anyone in that crew you're not really trusting going in here? And how do you think the heist is going to go? I want both of your opinions on this, and then we're going to get into She-Hulk.
So I am very worried about them. I love them. I've watched Rogue One. I know everyone dies. I wrote an article saying I don't want any of them to die, and someone goes, "Did you not watch Rogue?" I've seen Rogue One. I have a Rogue One tattoo. Doesn't mean I want them to die. I want them to live. I hate the end of that movie, even though I know it's good, because I don't like watching them die. But I have Ira Bell on my arm. I know, I get it. Doesn't mean I like it. So I think they're all gonna probably die, other than Cassian and maybe Cousin from the Bear. Ivan Mockrock. I just call him Cousin. But I don't distrust anybody. I think they're a little wary of each other, because it's like the rebellion is not the rebellion. And that's what I really like about that whole section, because they're a hot mess. Like, all of them, they're bad at being rebels right now. I really liked the scene when Cassian gets called in to a meeting, and like you think they're gonna be like, okay, here's what you're gonna do, and then they are essentially quizzing him to get actual answers on how to do the thing, and then he's like, wait, you guys don't know what you're doing? And they're like, no, we know, but we want you to tell us. And he's like, no, you don't know what you're doing.
It's the elementary school thing. Like, I know what that dirty word means, but I want you to tell me to make sure that you know.
But it's like that, and then with the gun thing, like I was like, I'm obsessed with this. When he's like, you're left-handed, you should be on that side. And he was like, how do you know I'm left-handed? He's like, because I can see how you're favoring the gun. And he is right-handed, but shoots left-handed. And I was like, oh my God, Cassian is like, I am the only one who is good at this. I guess I'm in charge now. And so I really liked that. I liked when he gets told, like, okay, you're not in charge. Like, basically, like, we get it. You know the most, but that's who you're listening to. It was like, this is going to end horribly.
A little bit of Thor and Star Wars. A little bit of Thor and Star Wars. Like, you know, this is my ship, right? Of course.
Yeah. It's your ship. Okay, but also I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, there are some really good scenes that played out throughout those like training montages that really like, and especially
so
when I can't remember his name in the series, but Cousin.
Just Cousin. I like just him and Alex Lothar. I just literally were calling them Cousin and Alex Lothar the entire time. So when I wrote about it, I'm like, I need to go and look up these characters like actual names, because I was just like, calling them Alex Lothar and Cousin.
So you can tell me what it is right now, right?
Something with an S. What?
Okay, so anyways, we're gonna backtrack before I dig myself further into this hole. TJ, I'm specifically am worried about my favorite little architect model builder, because he's so adorable.
And,
yes, and I don't want him to go anywhere. And then I also am particularly worried about the lieutenant, because he's really in the thick of it. He's really the one who's putting the most on the line. And they showed some scenes of like some stuff happening at the base, and I felt like something's gonna go wrong on his end, and he's not gonna be able to control it, and I feel like he's gonna get exposed somehow. So I'm particularly worried about him.
I'm worried, and we are gonna find out about it next week during their suicide run. And it was all set up. The plan was set up with the Star Show that's coming, and so I'm excited for the visuals. Exactly. That's going to be some impressive visuals. I'm looking forward to that. And I think it's going to be a really enjoyable, action-packed episode. And like you both mentioned, Andor is kind of adult Star Wars. And I don't think even though it's adult Star Wars, it's important we enunciate our pronunciations, because when Garrett said the rebel sects, it did sound a little bit like there was some rebel sex going on, and I don't think that's quite the adult Star Wars.
All right, let's
that
be honest. There's definitely some rebel sex going on.
There was sex in Andor.
Yeah,
we got some booty. We did get our first Star Wars booty call.
They gotta get some camaraderie, some teammates, some good work culture going on in the rebel.
Made it.
Yes,
Benji made it.
We can publish the episode now. It's official.
We can't talk about Star Wars sex and not talk about She-Hulk sex.
Yay!
Because I'm shipping Matt Murdock and Jennifer Walters. We finally got this episode. Garrett, this has been something I've been hoping for since before She-Hulk even happened. As soon as we knew we were getting Daredevil in this show, I was going, She-Hulk and Daredevil are two of the characters that sleep around more than any other Marvel characters. These two are getting together, and we finally got it in episode 8. Rachel, what have you been thinking about She-Hulk as a whole? Have you enjoyed the show? And then episode 8, was it the number 1 on the list for you?
I love She-Hulk very much. I think it's very fun. I love the way that this show makes fun of toxic fandom is so good. And 8 is definitely my favorite, but it's also so sweet that it was so, like, men were so angry on Twitter that Daredevil had not shown up, and they were yelling and yelling. And then the fact that they released his scene as Daredevil prior to the episode dropping was just like the sweetest little bit of press I could have ever hoped for. I was like, this marketing is beautiful. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. That they were like, oh, I'm sorry. Is this who you were excited about? Okay, here he is. Like, it was just, have never been happier. I was like, oh my God, whoever is behind this, Kevin Feige, if you're listening, no notes. How this show has played out, I love it so much, because it was just, great. But I like the show a lot. Every week I'm like, oh, this is cool. I love this. This is my favorite. And so it's like, I feel weird being like, this is my favorite, but I think it is, just because having Matt Murdock back as Daredevil, because obviously he was in No Way Home, but he was like, I got like 3 lines, and then he peaced out. I liked him being back as Daredevil. I liked the little nods to the Daredevil series by like him being late to court and the hallway fight. Like, I liked that they were acknowledging like,
his
hey,
little soundtrack.
Yeah, I was like, I like that they acknowledged like, hey, look, we can write Daredevil as the Daredevil but he's in a different genre. And I really just liked how it kind of put Daredevil in a comedy and was like, it's still your Daredevil, he's just in a different genre. So yes, he's not going to brutally beat somebody up. He's still going to do it. It's just going to be funny. He's doing it.
And, I absolutely adore the Netflix show. I love this rendition of Daredevil we're getting, with the additional comic accuracy of Matt being a little lighter, making some jokes. He finally seems to have found a little bit of happiness within himself. And what I love the most about it is it makes, when he's no longer angry and brooding all the time, when he's actually funny, and he's always been charming. I feel like the people who are complaining about him now kind of miss that part, but when he's able to talk to women and no longer angry and brooding, he's not really as relatable for the angry man babies anymore. And I think that is absolutely fantastic, and I love this Daredevil we're getting.
Even then, he wasn't relatable because he's sassy. He's funny because he's sassy about things.
And he stands for good things. So
yeah,
that in itself.
Like, I think about that image of him in a hospital bed in a Catholic church, just rolling his eyes like all the time, and I was like, that is comedy. That is funny. He's miserable. And he's just like, whatever, I guess this is my lot in life. I'm back at the Catholic Church. So, like, He's always been that way, and I think the man babies are gonna find things to cry about.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think
100%.
I think it'll make you happy to know that we have a pending article on our site that will be coming out titled "She-Hulk's Big Bad Were the Dude Bros We Met Along the Way."
Good. Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
And we're lighting a fire under Carlos so that he gets that one out, because Garrett's been plugging the hell out
This
of
is
that
the
one.
second time I plugged it.
And so make sure you head to agentsoffandom.com to see when that one comes out. And we got a lot of other great stuff up there as well. You can click the AOF store, find yourself some awesome Agents of Fandom clothing on there as well. So make sure you check that out. But I want to talk specifically about Jen and Matt's chemistry. So 3 different tiers, 3 different prongs that I want to touch on. Firstly, in court, as lawyers, Matt kicked her ass. Matt wiped the floor with Jen, but that had nothing to do with Jen. That had to do with her idiot guy she was representing. And I like that. Eugene Leapfrog, not quite Frogman. Maybe I've heard some things that he's the son of Frogman. Maybe he'll develop into Frogman eventually.
Well,
I'm not well versed in Frogman enough.
He would be Frogman. Leapfrog was his dad, but his dad is great. So he is Leapfrog, but he wasn't. But the Eugene is Frogman.
Got it. That definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah. So Leapfrog.
Guard Frog. Either way, Guard Frog was pretty lackluster. He was pretty underwhelming. I was not even whelmed, as my guy Dick Grayson from Young Justice would say. I'm rewatching that with Ava right now. We just started season 2. That show is just peak animation, absolute top tier. And I love me some Nightwing. So back on track. In court, I'm so excited to see more of this. Kudos to our friend Jamie Jirac, who was on. Was that just last week that Jamie was on, or 2 weeks ago? But she had a great tweet today about a few weeks ago, because it was the premiere of Andor. And it was, as many people know, I've only watched the first season of Daredevil, and I'm rewatching it before I get into season 2 and 3, and I'm only 3 episodes in, and I'm waiting for Jen Walters to show up.
Yeah, mad there's no She-Hulk. Where's the She-Hulk?
Exactly. Oh, I love that troll job, but also it makes me really, really hope that we're getting some. I mean, obviously, She-Hulk season 2. Hopefully, that's something that gets announced next week. But I hope we get Jen Walters coming in Daredevil Born Again.
We got 18 episodes. You gotta have a little bit of room for some Jen, right?
Jen in that genre, that'd be fun. That's my favorite part I've realized in the last couple of days with this is like getting to see Jen in different genres, because it's like she fits so well in a comedy, but like she's not going to be that character in something like Captain America 4. If she was in New World Order, I forgot how the title. If she was in like New World Order, she's obviously not going to be like panning to the so it'd be really interesting to see her in Daredevil Born Again, because that's obviously going to have a darker tone. And so, oh my god, I want it. I'm just like breaking my brain.
And the 18 episode thing, I think, is just so perfect for it, because like we've had lots of Garrett with our friends and other Agents of Fandom crew. We've had lots of discussions. I don't even want to say arguments, because they've been like pretty good discussions about Book of Boba Fett. And I'm in the heavy minority. I don't mind that they flop back and forth from Boba Fett to Mando, and they had some episodes of just Mando and Grogu. Like, that doesn't bother me. But I do understand how people specifically wanting a Boba Fett show and then not getting that character for a couple episodes in such a short series, how that could be bothersome. But in an 18 episode arc, and I don't by any means think they wouldn't have Matt in them. They'd be Matt centric, of course. But I think a 3 to 4 episode Jen arc would fit in pretty darn well, where she's basically like a co-main character for that. And I think them going against each other or collabing on a case would be a perfect way to do that.
And
she should get it after everyone acted about this show. She deserves it.
Yeah,
that's what they
so many people off. That's like the perfect. It's what she deserves.
Bring her episode 1. Like episode 1, start the show that way.
And she's like, miss me? And she's like talking directly to the camera.
And then the final post-credit scene of episode 18 has nothing to do with Matt
Just
at
Jen.
all, and it's just Jen. Yeah.
The
Walking with
teaser for
Bruce.
She-Hulk season 2.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a box on a floor, and you see a purple and white jumpsuit in it, and then you're like, great, in 4 episodes, Jen showed up.
Hell
So the
yeah.
next part of these two that I want to talk about is their fight chemistry. What I loved about this so much is the MCU, in my opinion, has a bit of a habit of overusing same skill set hero and antagonist and protagonist. They are the same people with different morals, and they're having the exact same fight. Who's going to win? This was so cool to see two people with totally different skill sets going toe to toe. Jen, obviously in Hulk smash mode. Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock, Daredevil with his acrobatics, which we got to see at a much higher extent than we did in the Daredevil series in this show, probably because of the higher budget. I think that makes sense as to why it would be that way. But their fight outside after the little car chase was almost like a choreographed dance, the way Jen was lunging and Matt was flipping around. And then finally, when Jen had enough, she did the little clap. It was incredible. It was so fun getting to see these two fight. And I hope we get to see more of this now. We loved in What If, Captain Marvel and Thor. We loved getting to see Thor and Hulk go toe to toe. I want to see more of these mini battles within the series. Mm-hmm. Rachel, what did you think of finally getting that? And did you think they were going to be going against each other at all?
Well, I did, because they released the scene prior to the episode. I think that I like it. I do like when they pair off, because like I like the Thor, which I know is from a kid, which is still the funniest story ever. The line, like, that's my friend from work, and then Hulk just destroys him anyway. I like that. And I mean, we also technically got it in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness with Wanda and Strange, who were on the same team, and then she got possessed, and so they weren't on the same team anymore. And so I like getting to see kind of how these powerful heroes face off against each other. But I also like how silly this fight was. Like, because they were just chit-chatting the entire time.
Yeah.
Which I understand why people are like, I want Spider-Man there. I'm like, yeah, because they're talking. And Spider-Man's like, how many things can I say in a fight sequence? Which Sam Wilson calls out. Yeah.
Which is why I want, Matt Murdock and Peter Parker are so perfect on screen together.
I want them together so bad. But it is I just realized why I like it, and it's because it's Civil War, which is still one of my favorite movies. I know that's a take.
I don't think that's a hot take, really.
But, well, my friend explained, I was like, why do I like Civil War so much?
It's so hard to rewatch. It's just so sad at the end.
I was like, why do I like Civil War so much? And my friend was like, because it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man shows up. And I went, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's finally Spider-Man with, like, all of the Avengers. And it's like, it's actually Spider-Man in, like, with heroes and not just standalone movies. But my brain was like, oh, why is that my favorite? But yeah, I think it's fun. I like this fight a lot. I think Jen destroys so many cars for no real reason. But for no real reason.
When she picked the one up and chucked it, I was like, damn, I'm gonna leave a note.
She literally could have, like, the best is she had, like, was trying to stop Matt, and I'm like, girl, you're a giant. You could have just stepped and gotten him. He's not that tall. He's little Matt Murdock. You could have just taken
his on that note, when she picks him up and then just picks off his mask and makes him look like a little baby before she shrinks. Oh god, that was hilarious. She just picked him up and popped off his mask like it was a little kid running around in a Halloween costume.
I knew she was about to beat his ass. Well, I guess she had already beaten his ass, but it was over when she called him out on the mustard and ketchup color scheme. I was howling in the morning, and I shouldn't have been, but I laughed way too hard at that.
That was like my brother he has a one. Well, she's 2 now. He has a 2-year-old, and so like he watches it. She loves Spidey and his amazing friend, so they have to be very careful what She-Hulk they're like watching around her because she's like Hulk, Hulk, Hulk. But so he like hadn't watched it yet, and he goes, "Oh, is he in the like brown and yellow?" And I was like, "It's not brown and yellow, it's red." And he was like, "No, it was brown." I was like, "No, it was always red and yellow. It's just dark red. It's like a maroon." And he was just like, "Oh, I was wrong," and sent me a picture. I'm like, "I told you you were wrong. Why are you sending me a picture?" Because there's a line that literally says ketchup and mustard. Like, I know it's red. And he was just like, "I was wrong. Here's what Daredevil looked like in the I'm like, "Thank you
Thanks,
for
Pug.
That's as
information I
close
didn't need."
to an apology as you're going to
Yeah,
get.
it's like, "Thank you for the information I didn't need about Daredevil."
Oh my gosh.
So the final type of chemistry is, of course, the sexual tension, the conversational chemistry, the sexual chemistry. They had a little pre-date at the bar with their masks off, a little main course up on the rooftop in their super suits, which we finally got to see Jen in her super suit. That was pretty darn cool. And of course, the dessert back at Jen's apartment, followed by the walk of shame from old Daredevil, carrying his little booties in his hand, walking bare feet, whistling, saying hello to the lady walking her dog, very polite. I thought that was hilarious and also just made so much sense since he didn't have clothes. Like, I'm happy they included that because that's one of those things that, like, you always think about of like, how do they change their clothes so fast? How do they get here into this situation, you know? And that's why I
Also,
always
if you're walking into the apartment as Daredevil, you can't be walking out as Matt Murdock. Like,
exactly. It's just
neighbors
one of
be
those
looking.
small things like Peter Parker's backpack and him putting his clothes in there, just like that I like the small things of the superhero universe. And that was a pretty damn hilarious one. I know the answer. We're all shipping Matt and Jen, but did you expect this chemistry to be this strong? Rachel, I'll start with you.
I didn't until San Diego Comic-Con where they talked about it more, and I was like, "Oh, so it must be really good," because they're like, you like if it was fine and like they were like, "Oh yeah, these 2 characters, they hook up, whatever," they wouldn't have hyped it in the way that they did, and so I was like, "Oh, it had to be good for the way that they're talking about it," and it didn't disappoint because you were correct. They are the 2 characters that you would be like, "Yeah, they would hook up." It's like if Tony Stark was the Tony from the comics and not like in love with Pepper Potts, like he would be like threesome. Like it's like those are like the characters you assume are going to do that kind of stuff.
We don't have first movie Tony anymore.
No.
Nat is not the Nat from comic books.
Mhm.
These are our two. These are our two that are going to be doing this stuff. Like, yeah, Star-Lord and Thor are going to be out doing their deeds in space. But here on Earth, these
Thor's
are
a
going to be
dad.
the two.
Thor can't. Thor got a kid.
True. He's got to rein himself in now.
Party
I'm
Thor
okay
in
with
some
Star-Lord.
universe is doing that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, Demon in a Bottle is happening somewhere, and I'm crying that I don't get to see it. But like,
We'll see
there's
that in What If season 2.
listen. What if you give me a Demon in the Bottle storyline? No notes, then I will be forever happy. But I think like it just works because it's like yes, those 2 characters would like, and it was established so early on that Jen is very just like sex positive and wants to talk about this stuff. Like we saw it with the Steve jokes in the beginning. We saw it with her trying to get dates, and then like what I like about this is that Matt Murdock flirted with Jen when she was Jen and clearly likes Jen. Um, and then like She-Hulk is just like the added stuff. And I was like, yes, well, I was about never mind. Um, but I like that it was Jen and the 2 of them are like I don't know, it works. I like it. I think it's really cute. It made me sad that he left, even though I don't like Matt Murdock not in New York. I make jokes about this because the pilot of Daredevil, there is a scene where Foggy is talking to somebody and they're supposed to be in Hell's Kitchen and it is very clearly Williamsburg. Like I know exactly where they're standing. It's across the street from my dentist. I was like, that's the Dunkin' Donuts on the corner of Bedford Avenue. That is not Hell's Kitchen. That's nowhere near Hell's Kitchen.
That too bugs me.
Well, but I'm like, I know what it looks like,
I
and
know.
That's not Cali, that's Atlanta.
Yeah,
yeah,
crazy.
well, but yeah, like it's the same thing, or like in Hawkeye, where you're like, at least you guys filmed the outside stuff in New York, but that there's no bridge that looks like that here. So that is clearly a bridge you found and said close enough. And so I don't like him not in New York. I'm like, this
You
feels
don't
wrong.
know what bridges got moved where after Thanos and all the other
Yeah, you're right.
things.
That's where the what is it? The whale in the Hudson. That's where
Yeah,
the or the
Whale
dolphin.
just took out a bridge.
That's the new one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So this kind of brings me to my next question about Daredevil. It was reported 2 to 3 episodes that we were going to see him in. Based on this, I don't think we're seeing him in the finale. Like, it wouldn't make sense to me for us to narratively, because what I love about this episode is no matter like that, a couple things I want to touch on before we get to the end. We're already running at like an hour, so we want to speed this up. So one is Brandon made up a great point in chat that the chemistry was also so great to watch immediately in contrast from her gross date with Todd. And it just kind of it feels so rewarding to get to see Jen and Matt together after all the shit that she's gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, at the end, her female lawyer of the year gala, shout out Mallory Books, little comments there, that was fantastic. Pug and Nikki with their snaps, and I love Pug so much. I hope we get more of him in the last episode. And it feels to me narratively that it wouldn't make sense for Matt to come back in this last one, because it would feel wrong after all this stuff we've seen Jen and her learning her lessons and her getting better at managing all of this stuff until the end, where we are now left having no idea what's coming next. It would feel wrong for Matt to come in and save the day. So if he is in the last episode, I hope it's not just Jen, and I trust the writers that it won't be this.
If
but I
he's
hope
in the
it's
last
not just
episode, it's Matt getting kidnapped and she has to go rescue him.
something like that. That would be awesome.
Flip the script. Kidnap the dude.
Yes.
Who doesn't
Kidnap the
really
blind
have
guy.
any superpowers. That was my favorite thing too in this episode. Like, she calls out that he doesn't really have superpowers. That
Yeah.
it's just like he has spatial awareness. And so she was like, I have powers. Like, relax.
Real powers. I also loved how she's like, I'm not just gonna sit here and wait for 30 minutes as you pick off goons one by one. And I thought of the many and many hours I've spent playing like the Batman Arkham games, picking off dudes one by one in the city.
Why do look like he kept being like, that math doesn't add up?
Doesn't matter.
I forgot to touch on this earlier, but like when we got his classic hallway scene, and then when it's setting him up for an even bigger one, and Jen SheHulk smashes in on her own show and interrupted that. I love that they gave us the Matt Murdock hallway scene, and then also reminded us whose show it was with Jen smashing in there. That was absolutely perfect. But
real quick, like before we leave the lair, I just want to say Eugene sucks, but his lair is dope. It gave me very much Poison Ivy in Batman and Robin, like the nipple movie. Yes, the lily pad.
Yeah, dope like, we lair, really talked about Luke, but like I loved Luke's storyline in this whole episode, where it was basically like, Jen, you turned on me. I hate you. Okay, fine, Jen. I'm gonna make your stuff because you saved me from this freak who was mad that great lawyer Matt Murdock, who sniffed the air and realized that there was jet fuel instead of gas in your boots.
Oh, like, so good.
It was just so like the whole lily pad thing where he like made a whole like manufacturer to just make his, like, I was like, it's the weirdest kidnapping situation I've ever seen. He was like,
I know you're just being mean to me because I kidnapped you. Like, yes. Why else?
Oh, words hurt, man. Words hurt. And so, okay, so before we get to our conclusions and our plugs and we get out of here, do we think Matt Murdock is going to appear in the season finale? And if so, how can they make it work in a show that's been so meta, so self-aware of all of the tropes we typically get in superhero shows and the trolls on social medias? They even made a reference to fridging at the end of the episode, which of course references from comics when a female character gets killed to motivate a male character. Are we going to see kind of something reverse? Is Matt going to be a damsel in distress, like you kind of mentioned, Garrett? Or is he not going to appear in this final episode? And Wong, Bruce, Matt, nobody's coming to save the day for Jen. Jen's going to be saving the day herself.
I hadn't thought about it until this very second, but I will be upset if he shows up in anything less than a situation where he is kidnapped and needs to be rescued by Jen.
Yeah, all of those men, like,
yeah,
all of them who have
Wong, Bruce, fully hulked out, and Daredevil in costume are tied up on a chair with their hands behind their backs.
Good is if intelligentsia, who think they know everything, so like the man babies, think they've kidnapped those three, but what they've kidnapped are cosplayers, then I would be like, no notes. You gave me cosplayers of Wong, Bruce, and Daredevil all just sitting in a line. But yeah, no. Put all of them in that cell thing that what's his name has. I was like Tim Roth.
Yeah, put him in Tim Roth's cell.
Yeah.
Get him in a yurt.
Put him in the yurt. Yeah, hurting for a yurt. Like, I don't know. Yes, I'm down for just kidnapping all of them. Or I feel like it'd be funny if at the end of the episode, like, Jen gets herself out of it, whatever. There is like her phone is sitting on a table and it just is ringing and says, like, when we finally like zoom in on it, it says like some joke about Matt Murdock and it's his ass instead of Captain America's on her phone screen, and then that's the last thing we see. That's my pitch. So if you guys want to hurry up,
has a new ass.
Yeah, America's new ass is British Charlie Cox. But
we don't need to talk about the logistics.
But yeah, like that, or just like that's his contact picture is just his ass. And then it goes back to Captain America's ass. And it's
two of our three Spideys from Queens are also British.
And then the other is Tobey Maguire. So maybe we were onto something with the Brits. But yeah.
Tatiana Maslany twerking with Megan Thee Stallion. That is Canada's ass. Saskatchewan's ass, Tatiana Maslany. We love it. But my favorite theory that I've seen in chat is Carlos, who said, if anyone's coming to save Jen, it's going to be Madison with Wong's sling ring.
Wongers! Yeah.
That would be huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple callbacks I want in the last episode. Something with Wong and Madison together. Them finishing a show, starting a new one, something like that. I want Matt to appear.
6 Feet Under. I was trying to think what show I would watch. I want them to be watching 6 Feet Under, and she spoils how that series ends to him.
I want that to be your next article. Is like the 10 shows that Wong and Madison would binge watch together in order.
He went through The Sopranos fast. Well, he was on season 5.
You have the time stone to
yeah. Well, they don't have it anymore. It's gone.
We talked with Patty Guggenheim, who plays Madison, when I was at the Edmonton Expo. You can find that interview up on our YouTube page and at agentsofandom.com. I also want to know what's going on with Bruce. I want to know why he's heading back why he's in space. Is he heading back to Sakaar? What is going on with him? And then I would like the Daredevil to come back. I want Daredevil to come back. Or I want Matt, not Daredevil, but Matt to come back. And I don't want it to be as Daredevil in Cali. I want him to be back in New York. But with how Jen got ghosted by creepy, terrible intelligentsia dude, I would love for some kind of callback to that of like Matt going out of his way to make contact with Jen, and we kind of see them have a nice little FaceTime to end the last episode, plan something for
The blind guy?
He can hear.
What?
It's a phone call.
What's the point of
She
a
wants to see his
FaceTime?
face. He can still see his face, and he can hear her.
Yeah, I'm sure she wants to look at Charlie Cox's face.
Exactly.
Like, I'd be like, hi, hello, Matt.
Yeah, he's got really good hearing. He can imagine what her face looks like with his echolocation, as she says.
Do you think that hurt? Because I know his like part of his spatial awareness is he has like super hearing. Do you think
that hurt like hell.
Like hurt?
Like, and he made reference to that too when he said like, I have super hearing, or at least I did, because he got smashed into that.
Oh, wait.
And like the car alarms on top of that too. Like that would have been hell for him. But I'd love just a little FaceTime that ends with a tease of. Sorry, I'll let you hit that. Ends with a tease of Jen making a plan to go to New York, and that's where we end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would love. What were you gonna say there, Rachel?
No, you just said that would be hell for him, and I said Hell's Kitchen.
Nice.
That's all I said.
Nice. I was muted, so the sound didn't come through, but TJ.
I saw you, so that's fine. We planned for a quick 30 to 45-minute episode. We are pushing in hour 10 right now. It is into the AM for Rachel, and she's got a full day of NYCC again tomorrow, so we better get out of here. Make sure you hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe, follow Agents of Fandom anywhere you get your podcasts, and we're Agents of Fandom on all the socials except Twitter. It's at Agents Fandom. Check out the Ticket to Reality podcast, where we are joined by Lee Swift, and we talk all things reality TV, Big Brother, Survivor, Love Island, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelorette, and this week, Monday coming up, we got an interview with Michelle Ryder from season 3 of The Circle, Mama Michelle, Shelly Belly Comedy. And then next week, we will be talking to Tommy Bracco, formerly of Big Brother, currently on Broadway. So that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. And where can the people find you? What do you got? Any pieces you have out right now? And where can people find you on socials?
You can follow my work at the Mary Sue. I also do some stuff for Collider, but my stuff for the Mary Sue, all my New York Comic Con things are there. I did write a Daredevil piece about people complaining that Daredevil was ruined, as if Matt Murdock didn't enter a room in a shirt that says "I am not Daredevil" with his arms spread wide. But you can follow my work at the Mary Sue. You can follow me on Twitter at Rachel Leishman. On Instagram, it's Rachel_Leishman. And then, I have a podcast where we go through the filmography of Pedro Pascal. It's called Padro Pascal. And you can see me there. Your reality show. Oh my God, there's another dog.
Sonic's here now.
Your reality show podcast, though, you did not mention my favorite women, the Real Housewives of any major city you could possibly think of.
That's the beauty.
Yet, but my girlfriend loves them, so it's definitely going to be on the agenda.
I love them.
That's the beauty of Ticket to Reality, is we cover whatever our listeners want us to. So if you want to hop on the pod and talk some housewives,
I will talk about housewives
with Lee Swift. We host with Lee Swift at The Circle. So
I would.
Yeah,
you
guys. He was River on season 2 of The Circle.
You guys would get along.
Yeah, listen, I love The Circle. I feel like I'd be bad at it, but yes,
we would be.
So
we would be so lonely. I would get
we have Michelle Ryder from season 3 on Monday, and then our previous guests have been Delisa and Trevor. Delisa, who of course won
played Trevor, and then Trevor played
exactly. We've had both of them on. We had Jack, who played 2 different characters, Emily and
the tall one.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite images of all time, where it's like Jack standing and then the short little lady who passes
the assistant lady. Yes. Go check those out. Yes,
I will. I was like, I love reality TV because it's like what I put on when I'm working, so I can like focus on what I'm doing and like still have noise. And so it's like I watch so much.
We'll get you on one of those episodes soon, whenever you're free.
So
Ugh.
make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out Rachel's work at the Mary Sue as well as Collider. You can find Garrett and my stuff all over Agents of Fandom, and you know where to find us on Twitter as well. Thank you so much for tuning into this live show today. We will be back next week diving into Werewolf by Night with Agent Jade Ruffalo, as well as talking She-Hulk finale with Lee Swift, who we just mentioned, and our friend Rob from Streamr. He's joining us to talk Andor again. So we got lots of fun stuff coming next week. Make sure you join us. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Peace.